Hi, Joe.
Hi, Steve.
Thank you very much for coming to talk to us. It's World AIDS Day on the 1st of December, and that is now nearly 25 years since the first cases of HIV were described. You've been positive for quite a while.
Yeah, I've actually been positive probably since at least 25 years, probably even earlier than that. Originally from the blood products disaster that the NHS had, I was infected as a result of blood products, and that meant that I've actually had some very close scrutiny of my HIV all the way from right near the beginning until very recently, in fact 1996, so 13 years ago, just as combination therapy came out. For many people in my position, they were unfortunate enough not to have received effective combination therapy, and they're not here to tell the tale. For myself, it came along just in the nick of time, probably even 6 months later, and it would have been too late. But it came along.
Tell me a little bit about, those early days when you were sick. Tell me, what kind of illnesses did you have?
When I was first infected, and certainly when I didn't know, physically you'd have looked at me and you wouldn't have known anything. I actually felt pretty healthy at the time, and it's quite a shock to people when they look back now at photos of me in my teens and I'm out partying and having a good time. And it's a scary prospect because I didn't know, nobody else knew that I was HIV positive. It doesn't come with a label to say that you're HIV positive. And the HIV symptoms, kind of the night sweats, the fatigue, kind of flu-like symptoms, feeling generally unwell, that sort of didn't come along until a bit later. It's kind of progressive until when I became very ill, and I was getting all sorts of infections that were a bit of a mystery. You couldn't quite put your finger on what was going on. They were resistant to antibiotics. I was feeling less well. I was having problems with my memory, and I was losing weight, and I was getting all sorts of childhood illnesses that I'd never been able to get when I was a child. So I was suddenly getting chicken pox and shingles, and it was all very mysterious and odd. And eventually I became very, very ill. My weight fell off me. Because I'm infected with HIV and Hep C at the time, there were some unusual viral reactions going on, and it left me very debilitated. My joints were attacked. I'd got no motivation, no energy, and every infection that came along that other people would fight off, it was taking me months and months to fight off. And that was it. I was on my way out. My immune system was buckling. It was badly crippled, and luckily medication came along and it's turned the whole thing around. It didn't manage to reverse the damage that I've received as a result of HIV, but it did save my life in time. Effectively, it's akin to people that present very late today. The medication came along for me just in the nick of time. For people that are undiagnosed and they're wandering around today, not even aware that they've got HIV, they're probably out there partying, or maybe they've settled down now and their party days are past them. They still don't know that they've got HIV, and unless they get tested, they're going to carry on not knowing, and the first thing they'll know about it, if they know, will be when they become ill. And for them, it may be too late. I mean, in 25% of cases, I think it may be, people present too late for the very good medication we have now to be of any use to them at all. Yeah. So those third of people that are wandering around that don't know, they need to get tested.
Yeah, so you feel quite passionately about that?
Yeah, absolutely. People are very streetwise today, but they're not very clued up on a couple of really important things. One is protecting yourself. It's great to go partying and have fun. That's a healthy lifestyle, but you need to protect yourself because there's serious dangers out there that live with you for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. And the other is going and being checked and protecting yourself that way, because the earlier you present with HIV, the better it is for medication to help you. There's far less complexities with which medication to take. Quite likely you'll be stronger and be able to cope with side effects and the adherence side of it. You know, there's no doubt HIV meds and living with HIV, it's mind-blowing in the first place. It's very disruptive. Taking the meds when you're supposed to on time can be very disruptive, but it's far less disruptive than finding out too late and then you can't do anything to help yourself. So the other streetwise thing to do is go and get tested and get the help early on.
Sure. Do you think that medical professionals these days are doing enough testing?
I think we've got some very, very quick tests now, and I think now that they're available, the stigma of having to go along and have a blood test and wait weeks and weeks to find out the results, those days are past. And when I found out I was HIV positive, that was mind-blowing in the extreme for me. The earliest symptoms were mostly emotional despair and depression and that. This was because I didn't have any medication. I didn't have a future to look forward to. Now you've got good medication out there and you've got quick, easy testing, and life is nowhere near as negative and dismal looking being HIV positive as it was 25, 30 years ago. There's a real opportunity there now for people to challenge the condition and to live a long, healthy life.
Do you think there's still a lot of stigma around HIV and AIDS?
Stigma, yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that today's younger generation are growing up and have overcome a lot of the stigma. Maybe the fact that they're not getting tested kind of proves that there is a stigma there still. They could prove me wrong and go out and get tested, and there's double benefits to getting tested early now. If you get tested and you find you're positive, you can get treatment very early. If you get tested and you're negative, then you can protect yourself and you can carry on being screened, getting your annual MOT and making sure that you stay that way.
Okay, thanks. You must have seen an awful lot of people that you knew very well die in the early days.
Yeah, for me, I guess I've got a fairly unique perspective on this because the haemophilia community that I'm part of, and many of whom were my friends, there were around 1,200 people that were infected with HIV through blood products, and of those, the medication didn't come along in time, and if it did come along, it was too late to save them. There's now only about 400 or less than 400 people that have survived that infection. So there's a good lesson in there for everybody else who hasn't been tested and is receiving effective treatment.
Can I ask you, people often say, well, haemophiliacs, they didn't do anything. They got given blood products and therefore they were infected, whereas people who are going out there and having sex, in some ways maybe deserve to get this infection. What would you say to that?
They don't deserve to get the infection, but they've got to take responsibility for themselves and for others. If it's a serious subject, HIV, and it doesn't fit easily alongside youth and having fun and being light-hearted about life, which is what being young's about. And they don't deserve to get infected, but if they carry on burying their heads in the sand, they're going to come into contact. If they're out there enjoying sex and having unprotected sex, sooner or later they're going to come across someone who's also enjoying that, but they've got HIV. And they won't intend for you to get infected, they won't hold any malice for you, but nonetheless, you've got a lifelong sentence then that you've got to live with.